Jamie Metzl is the co-organiser and one of more than 24 experts, including virologists, who signed an open letter calling for a new international inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. He's an expert advisor to the WHO and he's a member of the National Security Council during the Clinton administration, and he's with us now. Jamie, it's been a while. Thanks for taking the time.
Happy to see you, John.
OK, you've described the team of investigators who went to China and to Wuhan as taking part in a study tour because everything was so tightly controlled by China. So should the WHO just have rejected all of the demands which were made by Beijing? Was there nothing to be gained, even under the conditions which was laid out by the Communist government?
There was something minimal to be gained. The problem was this was sold to the world as an actual investigation. If it had been told, if the story told to the world was China has allowed some people to go for 2 weeks in a curated, highly managed, highly manipulated study tour, they're not going to be able to know much of anything, but why not start a process? That would be fine, but instead this was billed by many, including the media, as an investigation. And then they went there, they had this very, very limited, highly manipulated 2-week experience, and then at a real low point, there was a joint press event between this international advisory committee to the WHO, not the WHO itself, and their Chinese government counterparts. And in that press event, they said we shouldn't investigate the lab leak hypothesis, but we should investigate frozen food, which is possible but highly unlikely. And I think that for a lot of us, it just didn't sound right. It felt like these members, well-intentioned scientists, were being manipulated by the Chinese government and were just simply repeating Chinese propaganda lines, and that was why we felt we needed to act.
So on basically your hypotheses, which is essentially that this is entirely possible that this virus leaked from the lab there in Wuhan, there were questions being asked about the staff who work there, and this is an issue which you have with Peter Daszak, who is with part of the WHO team which were sent to China. He told 60 Minutes that he raised this question with a number of workers at the lab. Here's what he said.
We met with them, we said, do you audit the lab? And they said, annually. Did you audit it after the outbreak? Yes. Was anything found? No. Do you test your staff? Yes. No.
But you're just taking their word for it.
Well, what else can we do? There's a limit to what you can do, and we went right up to that limit. We asked them tough questions. They weren't vetted in advance, and the answers they gave we found to be believable, correct, and convincing.
Given the fact that Beijing has a rap sheet of lying about almost everything over the last number of decades, from people dying in the crackdown on Tiananmen Square to the number of people who died recently in flooding, why would Chinese officials be given the benefit of the doubt in the first place?
It's just preposterous. I mean, John, you're younger than I am, but maybe you remember Monty Python. This is like something out of a Monty Python skit. They go to the lab and they say, hey, China, hey, did you do it? And they say no, and then, oh, I guess we better not have any thorough investigation, not really do anything. And again, this international committee didn't have the mandate or the authority or the resources or the expertise or much of anything to do an investigation. By their own admission, they weren't doing an investigation. So how could they possibly make some kind of determination like the lab leak hypothesis is highly unlikely? That's the real problem. It's not that this investigation team had superpowers and didn't use them. They were totally disempowered. They were totally managed and manipulated by the Chinese authorities. But exactly as you said, we shouldn't be giving the Chinese authorities the benefit of the doubt in light of what everybody knows about the historical record.
And just a little bit more on that open letter, which was published by dozens of experts. Part of it, you write, the joint team's work has been inaccurately reported by the media as an independent investigations, whose conclusions reflect those of the World Health Organization. It's important to get that on the record, because on the other side of the coin, there's the former director of the CDC here in the US. Here he is.
You know, I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped.
But on the same token, he raises those allegations again without any proof, without any evidence to back up those claims. So, I know that's sort of where you're coming from, but surely that you should have issues with that because there's no evidence to back it up as well.
We're not saying that it absolutely was a lab leak. Nobody could prove. I mean, some people maybe could, but with evidence that's publicly available, it's a very, very strong circumstantial case. And it's also possible that it could have happened through a series of intermediate animal hosts and jumps from one animal to another, although there's no evidence of that. But that's exactly why we need a full and unrestricted international investigation. And you would think for this kind of investigation, we would need the records, the samples, we'd have confidential interviews with key personnel. We have none of that. So we shouldn't be in the position of begging for crumbs from China. We should be articulating what a real investigation would look like. If China wants to tell the rest of the world and thumb its nose that we can't investigate the origins of this terrible pandemic that have killed nearly 3 million of us, that's on them, but we shouldn't be doing that job for them.
Okay, Jamie, we'll leave it there, but thank you for being with us. It's appreciated.
My pleasure.